Hey folks, here's Robert. The following video documents my experience with Apple's trade-in program here in Germany. In a nutshell, I sent in my old MacBook Pro to Apple in their trade-in program. They came back to me telling me it didn't work anymore. I asked them to send it back to me. Using an old battery trick, I was able to reanimate the system and discovered some other weird stuff as well. So stay tuned and let me show you what happened to me with the program. I plan on retiring my late 2013, early 2014 MacBook Pro last year. What prompted me was Mac OS Monterey and the new MacBook Pros with the M1 chipset. It was too much for me. I'm an iOS developer. I need to keep up to date with Xcode and the hardware, so I decided to pull the trigger. I went to the Mac OS store and started configuring the new system I wanted, and noticed that you could trade in your old hardware. So I put the data in for this system, and what they told me was I could get up to 280 euros for it. And I thought, hey, that's not a bad deal. I mean, it's not great, and I know there's other places I maybe can get more, but I figured, hey, why not? It's simple, and I could just send it in. So I ordered my new system. It came in, the MacBook Pro M1 Max. Wonderful system. I transferred my data and my applications, and once I was happy with the new system, I then followed Apple's instructions on how to format and reinstall Mac OS Big Sur on my old system. I completed that. The system was working as I expected, so then I sent the system back in the box that Apple provided for me. I waited about a week and I checked my order on the Apple Store for the trade-in, and to my surprise or dismay, the trade-in value for my old laptop was valued at zero. The reasoning was they couldn't start the machine. I thought that was odd because first thing, the machine I had for nearly 8 years, it worked perfectly. And when I sent it into them, it was booting with Mac OS Big Sur, and I did everything what they told me to do in their instructions. I was given two options on the Apple Store. I could either leave the system with them and let them recycle it for me, or have it sent back to me. I choose the latter option because I just couldn't imagine what happened to the system. I thought maybe it was damaged on the way between me and their logistics center in Holland. I just wasn't sure. So I got the system back in the box that Apple provided, and taking a look at it, there's no apparent physical damage to it. System looks just like as when I sent it to them. Even the little glue that was still from some sticker I had on there. But the system looked fine to me. And as Apple said, when you press the power button here, the system doesn't do anything. And then I plugged the MagSafe connector from the power supply to it, and it changed from green to yellow, as it just did right here. This indicates to me that the system is charging. There's something in it that still is working. But even with the, there's a keyboard command, shift, control, option, power to reset PRAM, that didn't help it either. Didn't bring the system back up. Then I remembered there's a old trick we used to use to troubleshoot laptops. I've worked in IT for a long time. Basically, you take the battery out and hit the power switch. The only problem with this system is, of course, the battery isn't easily accessible. It's not removable, but it is accessible if you take off the back panel, which I'm going to do. I'm not going to show you because that's not the point of this video here. If you're interested in getting inside your laptop, there's a great website called iFixit. I'll put a link below in the notes on how to actually exchange the battery in the system if you're interested in that. So what we're going to do now, we're going to pretend that I take out the 10 screws. We can now remove the back cover. A little dirty, but that's what happens when you use the system. So what we've got here now is the batteries, battery cells or battery, and the motherboard. So we remove this little sticky thing here that doesn't stick so well anymore. And you come to here now, what you can see is the power connector to the motherboard. It's a single connector. You can use your finger and disconnect it. Now it's disconnected. What's important here is, well, not just disconnecting the battery, but the trick is also to hit the power switch. Once you've done that, now you've done a real PRAM reset. Now we can reassemble the system and try to start it. So now we've put the 10 screws back in the system. It's important to make sure the back cover's back on because there are switches on the motherboard to make sure that it's attached. If it's not properly installed, the system will not boot. So now we're ready. We attach the MagSafe power and hit the power button. And my system has now been reanimated. I'm going to show you here. It is now booting. This will take a second. So I'm going to try to show you a good view of this. Now we've got macOS Big Sur. At least from the background, it looks like macOS Big Sur. This is where it really gets weird. You'll notice there's a user that's been installed on the system. It's called SSSSSSSS, 10 times the capital letter S. It wants a password, which of course I don't know. And moreover, there's also here on the keyboard input selections, you can select Dutch. Again, I did not configure this user nor configure the system for this. I'm not sure if this is the OS I installed on this system because I did try to do a recovery from the SSD. It didn't seem to be able to find anything there and try to do a recovery via the internet. So I could install a new version of OS on here. I'm not doing that yet. I may have to send this in for forensics to figure out what happened. So we'll leave it in this state for now. But it's very odd. Neither this user or this input was installed for me when I sent it to their logistics center in Holland. So what can we do with this system? I can put the system to sleep. That works fine, and it wakes right back up. You can also restart the system. Let's see if I can do that here. Let's see if I can show you that. Restarting works as well. Takes a little while to boot up. There's no problem with that at all. All right. So the system now has rebooted completely. Now, if I perform a shutdown, then the system goes back into what I call a zombie state. So I'll do a shutdown. Let's see if I can show you that. If I get my mouse there. Where's my mousey there? There we go, mousey. If you do a shutdown, the system shuts down immediately. It doesn't look like any scripts are being run. I mean, you know, from etc and initd or anything like that. It just dies. And now the system is a brick. It's pretty much the same state as when I received it when it was returned to me from their logistics center in Holland. It is not doing anything. Shift, Control, Option, and Start key also doesn't work. It's been bricked. So it appears to me that my system has been modified to be a zombie or be bricked if you shut it down. The only way to bring it back now is to do the battery trick with removing the battery, holding this power up button, then it comes back up again. So I have contacted Apple about this issue, and the nice lady on the telephone was very surprised. She'd never heard of anything like this before. And she gave me the contact to their logistics partner in Holland. I've contacted them, and they suggest I contact Apple. So it looks like I'm going to get the runaround for a while. Perhaps this video will help. I'm also considering going to the police and opening up a case. I'm still weighing my options. Nevertheless, as the situation develops, I'll make updates in the comments below for you if you want to read them. In conclusion, foresight. Buyer beware. Although the Apple trade-in program sounded really good, it's left a really bad taste in my mouth. But then again, this goes for any type of trade-in of your old kit. Make sure you document it. Photos, videos, serial numbers. Be careful when you do this stuff. This can happen to anyone, even with Apple, at any time. So, be careful. I hope you found this video useful and informative. I look forward to any comments or questions you may have in the comments below. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel. Every little bit helps. And yeah, thanks for watching. Have a great day.